Alright, welcome everyone, thank you for coming. EMS World states that going 24 hours without sleep has the same effects on driving as having a blood alcohol content of 0.10. That's about the legal limit in all 50 states in our country so far. So, is it better for certain employers to allow employees to sleep on the clock? I have evidence to back up my belief that fatigue is harmful to first responders and their patients alike. At work, our duties don't include just going on calls. When we first show up at the station, we have to clean our ambulances, we have to make sure that they're stocked from the previous crew the day before and all the calls they ran. We have vacuuming, sweeping, we have station chores, we mow our own lawns, we have PR events and training. So throughout our day, we're not just being able to sit around and sit in recliners and hang out and relax and have a little bit of downtime. But also, a study by EMS1 states that the odds of making an error or suffering a patient-related adverse event are 2.2 times greater among fatigued clinicians. These medication errors, they can be very frequent depending on how many calls you run in a day. Some departments run 24 plus more calls in a 24-hour period. An adverse patient outcome could be something just as simple as epinephrine. We give that for allergic reactions, which end up going into anaphylaxis. We also give that if you've experienced a cardiac arrest and we need to hopefully restart your cardiovascular system. The same amount of milliliters, which would be 1 milliliter, can be would be the same if we're going to try and restart your cardiovascular system or if we're going to try to help your allergic reaction. It's a different concentration, but that can be something that'd be easily missed if you've been up for 16, 18, or 24 hours. A study from EMSCE finds that the average EMS employee works at least 800 hours more than the typical 8 to 5. This ends up constituting the decreasing health in EMS. As in my case, I work the 800 hours extra than an 8 to 5 normal employee. And then on top of that, I work a part-time job also in EMS. Altogether, EMS normally, if you just work one job, is 2,880 hours. Last year, I believe I worked around 3,300 hours just trying to make ends meet due to the wage, a little bit changes in wages for EMS compared to nurses. EMS World shares that just being awake 16 hours, people tend to operate their vehicles at a blood alcohol content of 0.05. Our ambulances on average are 10 to 14,000 pounds, and just for the chassis alone, it's $160,000 just to get it to roll. With all of our medications and our equipment on there, we're looking at $400,000 to $500,000 per ambulance, and we're driving at on average at a 0.05. It's not really kind of what you want driving around your community all day and all night. Anderson D. He writes in Current Affairs that the AMR, which is the biggest ambulance organization in the country, they have around 6,000 ambulances. Last year they cleared $1.3 billion. Their average EMT makes a salary of $32,000 to $40,000, which in turn is why that people like me have a secondary job. It's not quite enough to make ends meet, even though that $32,000 to $40,000 is included with that extra 800 hours a year that you work. It's no surprise that Anderson D. also notes that 1/3 of EMS employees work more than 40 hours a week. This is taking into account the volunteers that put in a couple hours a week. This isn't only full-time employees. So there's a little bit of number disparity at that, since they can't just survey full-time EMS employees. So what can you guys do to help ensure safer care for your community? At this point, there's really not a whole lot you can do. You can vote. Everybody does it differently. Here in Kansas, you'll vote for your usually you'll vote for your county or city electorates. In Missouri, we have to vote for a board, and those will be the different people that will run they'll run your ambulance services in the area. You can vote for somebody that's going to be more willing to push out a private service, which is more like AMR, due to their low wages and their high hours of work. They really don't care too much about fatigue. They have a lot of turnover rate. You can vote in another electorate that would be more willing to go to the public sector, which we have a little bit more time and a little bit more downtime in our day. So in closing, I believe naps should be a staple in EMS. If we're not out running calls throughout the day and night, and we have all of our training and station done, a lot of departments you still have to sit up and be ready. You can't sit in a recliner. You can't relax at all. There should be, as long as you have everything done, you should be able to relax and have a little bit of downtime. So when you do get that call at 3 or 4 in the morning to run somebody's loved one, that you have the abilities to take care of the best that you can. Thank you.